Hello everyone, welcome to Lighthouse Stamping with Lorraine. I hope your day is going well. Today we're going to be playing with Snowman Magic and Peaceful Deer. I decided these two sets just sort of needed to be put together for a while. So we're going to make a card with those two sets. But before I get started, we'll take care of the housekeeping notes. If I forget to give you a dimension or a color or something, or whatever product I used, it will be in the description below. Also below is a link to my online store. If you don't have a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I would love to be yours. There is a link to my Facebook group. If you'd like to join that, we would love to have you. And finally is my email address. And I point that out. If you live in the Portland, Vancouver area, drop me a quick email and let me know that you are in the area, as we're going to be running some special events and I would like to invite the people who live locally to those events. So please let me know. And with that being said, let's move on and let me show you what we're going to make. We are making this, let me get nice and close, you can see it good. This beautiful card. This has got glimmer paper behind in the front there. And it opens up this way. Just a simple message in the inside with little snowflakes all over the place. It's a fairly simple card, but I think it has a big wow factor, and I thought it was awful cute. So, and then the envelope has this cute little deer stamped on it. So, we are going to be doing a lot of stamping on this thing, so I did do some die cutting, a little bit of die cutting. So let me get all the parts out here for us. This is the glimmer paper, and I've already cut it out, and it's cut out with this snowflake that cuts into your paper this way, which I think is quite beautiful. Now this piece of glimmer paper is 4 1/4 by 4 inches, so standard measurement for the outside of a card. The base of the card is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. So this will be going like that. And then I have some scraps of white that we needed. This one is marked. This says for the outside. This is the outside piece that we'll be stamping that goes on the outside. This is the inside piece. So, and if you notice, let me show you, the inside or the outside piece is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I actually put this on here because they are so close in size, if you can barely see the difference. I did not want to mess myself up. And this is 5 1/4 by 4 for the inside. So we'll be stamping both of those. And these are just some extra pieces. And to speed things along, I didn't think you needed to watch me stamp the little deer on the envelope and color him. He was stamped with, excuse me, so you can see which deer that was. It is the little deer lying down. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice all of a sudden. Peaceful deer, and it's this little deer here. I colored him with Crumb Cake, my blends. I used the light and dark Crumb Cake. So very simple blending on that. And then if you see a little bit of blue here, hold this up, there is the snowbanks, and we'll be using those in the card itself, but I just put a couple underneath just to carry that through. So just to tell you how I did the envelope on that. So let's move some of this back out of my way. So like I said, we have a lot of stamping and we have a lot of parts, and I don't have enough blocks. I have a lot of blocks, but not enough of the right sizes. This is the F block. And someone asked me one day, what do you do with it when you say you're taking it off and just going to swap them on blocks? I have this sitting off to the side. I don't use this one that often unless I'm doing something rather large. And usually if it's this large, I'm usually got it on the Stamparatus. But what I do use this for is when I have a stamp and I'm done with it, even if it has ink on it, I'll put it on here until I'm ready to clean them all. And that's what I have sitting up this direction. You just can't see it off screen. So someone asked me where I was doing when I said I'm going to set it off the side. And that's what I'm doing. So let's go ahead and stamp our, do work on our outside piece first, and then we'll do the inside piece. Now, the first thing we're going to stamp is our snowbanks. I'm going to get them here. I don't have them all mounted yet. Excuse me. Bear with me for one moment. I've got a scratchy throat all of a sudden. I don't know why, but I do. So I've got that one mounted. I'm just swapping a few things off some blocks so we have enough blocks here to work with at one time. So this is the outside piece. And what I did was I took the two longer ones, which come from the Snowman Magic. This is the shorter one that comes from the Peaceful Deer. And I took Balmy Blue. And I need my stamping mat. Just like that. And I'm gonna line it up on my grid. This is a grid paper. And I want to come up 4 squares approximately, 4.5, because that is where I want to put my ground to be. So right about there. And it's not perfect, it's not measured. I got a little extra bling there. Then I'm gonna take this one and sort of hook it to this one. And the reason I'm using 2 of them, now this one, I'm gonna flip over. So it goes the other direction. It just gives a little more motion through the thing. And then I'm gonna just peel these guys off here and put them out of my way. I'm gonna grab some trees. Now we're not done with the Balmy Blue, so I'm gonna just set it over here very carefully so I don't get it all over, and move this. So now we're gonna do some trees. And we're gonna do our trees in Shaded Spruce and Garden Green. And I'm gonna start with the big one first. Oh, it won't look like the other one, I can tell you that. They never do. And I'm gonna put him sort of half off the page here. Now I do need to clean this really quick. As you can see, when you stamp off half the page, you leave darker color on the other side. So you do need to clean off occasionally. And I've got my scrap and scrub off to the side so I don't get anything on my project. I got a little towel here to wipe things off. I'm just using a little microfiber towel. Sometimes get a little wet and you want to make sure it's dry. So you can see how dark that is. So we may do some stamping off too. And that was Garden Green. I want to put a Shaded Spruce on the other side. These are the only really big ones we're using. So I'm done with that. So we'll set that back out there, out of the way. Then we're going to grab, this is the 3 trees. These are all the trees out of Peaceful Deer. And I'm going to grab a Shaded Spruce here first. We'll do a little clump here. And I'm not putting them all at the same height because I want some to look further back. And then I'm going to put this down here and overlap it a little bit. So it looks like some are further back. And then I'm going to clean this real quick. And now I'm going to grab the Garden Green and stack that there, and I'm going to put that up a little bit. Like I said, no 2 will turn out the same. Now we're going to grab the one that has 2, and I'm going to put him about there and stamp off again like that, and do a quick clean again. And let's grab some Garden Green, make him go further up, down here on that one. And I think we need one more. I'm going to go into Shaded Spruce for this. So they're all just sort of lined up. Now, I did forget to bring out one more tree. I forgot the small little tree, so bear with me. I knew I forgot something. There's the tiniest little tree. He's a very tiny tree. And I want Garden Green, but I want it stamped off because I don't want it too dark, because I want a couple of these down a little lower. whoa, my block is too wet. Did you see what happened here? When your block gets too wet, when you're cleaning your things, if it gets too wet, your polymer, it just sort of slid. It didn't stick. It just slid across the block. So that's why you have to sometimes use a rag to dry it off, or a napkin. And we'll grab the shaded spruce. I'm going to stamp him off once. And we'll put one there. And we'll stamp off. And we'll put one down here. Something like that. Like I said, they won't all turn out the same. I think I actually have a few more trees on this one than the other one, but that's okay. So we're going to close out our green for the moment. Go back to our Balmy Blue. Now I'm taking the small one that came from the deer. It's got 2 pieces and some breakage points. And I'm just going in here, and I don't care where the green is, because it's lighter than the green, and you won't even see it in there. And I'm just going up in here. If you can see where I'm going, up into the trees a little bit. And I'm adding some down below here. You know, snow just sort of drifts everywhere. But I went right through the trees. It doesn't matter because you can't see it. So, and that's pretty much it. And then we're going to do some blending with this. So we're going to grab some blending brushes. And I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper. And as my space keeps on getting smaller and smaller, I've grabbed 2 blending brushes. This one has blue on it. I'm just going to grab a little bit of Balmy. We're not doing a lot of blending, just a little bit. We're going to start off the page so we don't get it too dark. And we're not pushing hard over those trees, just going lightly around the trees. If you do press too hard, you can't actually blend the green. But I just want a little bit at the top. And I'm going to hold this up so you can see it. It's really faint. I'll put a little bit more in. Now, see if you can see that a little clearer now. You can just tell the difference from the bottom. But don't worry, the bottom's going to get a little bit too. Just not as much. I'm just going over really quickly. Like I said, it's just going to have little spots of blue. And then I'm adding a color. You wouldn't think I'm adding Highland Heather to the sky. Get a little more on here. And I'm just going right through the center here really lightly. Just to add some PQs, and then I'm coming back with the Balmy Blue again and blend that in a little bit. So you can see the pinky purple and blue sky. Like I said, it wasn't not a big difference, but enough. Okay, so that's it for the purple. Get it out of the way. Now we need to stamp the inside of the card, and then we need to work on the pieces going into it. So first we're going to grab the back of the card, the inside, and grab my stamping mat again, with the blending pad. And I am going to grab our verse that goes in. I know I said the verse out here. There it is. We are putting it in there. It's the most magical time of the year. And we are going to put it in shaded spruce. Make sure I've got that well covered. And I'm going to go right towards the top, but the middle. Oh, that looks good. Now you could leave it there if you wanted. I'm done with the shaded spruce now. I did forget to grab another thing out of here. There is one snowflake. Sorry, thought there was 2 snowflake things. It's this one. There is a snowflake stamp in here that I forgot to grab. Let me pull off a few trees here. And what I want to do is I'm just going to grab some Balmy Blue. And I'm just going all over this, right over the writing. It doesn't matter. And I'm just turning the block just so it looks like it's just randomly all over the page. Even where people are going to write, because I think it's sometimes fun to write over snowflakes and little light things in the bottom. I think we need one more down here. So that's what it looks like. So there's the inside. Next, we need to, and we've got the outside partially done. Now we need to make some elements to go on the outside. So the outside of our thing is going to have a snowman. Sorry, I'm just peeling some, a little face for our snowman. We have a scarf, and we have a hat. I'm going to put them on the same die because I'm making them the same color. So we have some scrap paper here, so we'll use that. So the snowman is going to be blue. Like that. The hat and gloves are going to be Tahitian Tide. I'll stamp those there like that. And I did forget there is one place we are using black. We're using Memento in one place. I'm going to close up this for now. We are using black to stamp his lovely little face and his carrot nose. Let me see if I can line this up. Well, I'm sorry, my head's in the camera. I'm going to try to move it this way a little bit. Trying to keep my head out, but I got to see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. And I don't even have my hair well done. It's just pulled up in a bun. So go there. And we need to color his nose. So I'm just going to use the pumpkin pie Stampin' Right marker. I'm going to use the little end. I chose to do the snowman. There's 2 faces. One has his eyes open and one has his eyes closed. I like the one with his eyes closed. I thought it was really cute. So we need those 2 pieces for the snowman. We also are going to need his arms, which we are going to cut out of Espresso. And then we need our deer. And he's right here. And I've got a little piece of paper, and we're going to do Early Expresso for the deer. Oop. Make sure you got the hooves done. And then we're going to, just like that. So now we have to do a little die cutting, and then we're going to assemble this card. First, we'll punch this out. We're using the deer punch. Oop. I've got a small piece of paper here, and I'm sure all of you have seen this trick before. Take a large Post-it or something, or hook something on the end of it. Give you a handle. Then you can slide it in and line everybody up. And I showed this on my last video. Oop, make sure I get it lined up. You don't want to cut off their hooves or an ear. You can actually hold it there until you're sure you got everything in there before you punch. Like that. And that's, whoa. Okay. Well, there. Sometimes they stick. I didn't want to close. So there's our deer. He's all done. Now we need to do die cutting, which won't take us long. So let me grab these pieces out of here. I also have so many ink pads. Just one moment here. I am flipping other ink blocks on here. I do not want my white and blue to end up in ink. So I'm going to grab some dies. And what I have here, there's those pieces, and there is his arms. Time to flip my cutting plate over. So we'll put our snowman on here. I'll use these since they're handy at the moment. There's the snowman. I grab my snips and snip this paper off. And there's the scarf. And his hat. Little piece of brown. Set that right there for 2 arms, like that. And if I keep them on there, we'll be doing good. And my other plate is right here. Making sure everybody stays where they are. And with one pass, we should have all the parts we need to build the snowman. So there is a hat. And if you hear the tinging, I have a metal mechanics bowl over here to put my dies in. If you don't have one of those, a plastic bowl, glass bowl, just something so that you don't lose your dies. I know I have lost dies in the past, and I'm sure they ended up in the trash compactor because I didn't realize I had left them in a pile of old paper. So, all right, close that up. Get some of this out of my way here. Let's build this card. So let's get the inside in first, since it's ready to go. Now we're going to put this one in, and you're going to see it leaves a very large margin there, and that's what you want, because you want your glimmer paper to cover this so that you can't see this from underneath. Just center that up as best you can. And then we're going to put our glimmer piece on, and you're going to use dimensionals. Okay, so if you have strips, you could use strips. I've been using so many of the strips, I don't have any at the moment, so we'll go this way. You're going to want quite a few dimensionals on this because you don't want it sagging halfway through the postage system. Like I said, it's quite a few dimensionals, but I think it's worth it. There we go. It's okay, we all love playing with dimensionals. Then the dimensional backs get everywhere. How many people have found them in the laundry? In your clothing. But that's okay. That's because you're having fun. All right, let's get those off to the way. Now they're over with the snowman parts, that's okay. So when you look at this, you have to decide if you want the heavily snowflaked here at the bottom or the lighter. I want the heavy snowflake at the top on mine. And don't press this down until you make sure you have this really lined up the way you want it. I'm a little off yet. Then when you get it where you want it, then you can stick it down. Okay, we need to build our snowman real fast. Yeah. What I like to do, I've got his two little arms, they're tiny little things. I just like to take and drop a little drop of glue on the back side and hook them down. Because I'm actually going to use a dimensional in these, and I'll put one right over each of those little arms, so it'll be fine. But this is the time if you want them to be up or down, you can move them. And then his hat. You're just putting a little bit on the bottom here, and we're gonna, it's just to hold him till we get the dimensionals on, because we'll put one to hold this on too. Now, when you set his scarf on here, it actually goes quite a ways over. It's not bad, but I want it trimmed just a little bit. So I just took the white right to the color. I just snipped it off a little bit. It was just a little too much for me. Now there is little charcoal buttons you can put on him and stuff, but when you put the scarf on him, you can't see them. So the other one has the buttons, but I've cut those off so he doesn't hang over quite as much. So, and if you have the penguins, these scarves and stuff all work on the penguins, by the way. If you didn't see one of my previous videos, I used the parts from the snowman on the penguin and vice versa. So there we got this, and we have our deer. Oop. If you are using the deer and putting a post-it on it, make sure you peel off the post-it piece that stuck to his ear. So we're gonna go ahead and put dimensionals on this here. Like I said, we're gonna put one over his arms, both of them, so they're not going anywhere. And then one at the bottom here. Only if Lori can peel them off. Okay, I want to set my deer, or my snowman, in here. I want him just right at sort of the top of those snowflakes. Right over the top there. Oh, now we have a dimensional that's now stuck in, wants to go with the snowflakes. Like I said, they get everywhere. Now, this one is going to go right on the outside here. So we're very limited what we can glue on here, okay? Glue works on this, but you have to hold it for quite a while. What I opted to use was glue dots. And look, I had to actually get a new thing to glue dots out. I ran out for a long time. I know, stupid getting excited over a couple glue dots. But I know that his ear will be up on the top. So we'll put the ear on. I know that his chest, because when I looked here, I'm looking at what his ear, his chest, this foot, and this foot. will both, so it's front, very front. So I've just rolled that into like a little oblong ball there. And the other one, I'm going to do the same on the third one down. So if you flip it the other direction, you may have a couple other places you can stick. But those should do it. Make sure that's tucked in there. Because he's looking back, jumping and looking back at that snowman out in the woods. And that is our card. So I hope you like that. Give it a try. Like I said, it's a quirky little fun card, but you know, quirky and fun, some good time, you know, happy things happen. And it's very sparkly. You could even make it sparkly. Actually, we'll make it a little sparklier. You won't see a ton of it on here. But I'm going to put a little bit of Wink of Stella on his hat. I'm being very careful not to blend too much of it because, you know, it will blend the colors. But I'm doing a little on his scarf. And make sure I don't have any there. And we'll put a little Wink of Stella on the... Trying to stay off of the dark colors and just on the paper. Put a little Wink of Stella in the center of him. So he's now sparkly too. So you can have some fun with this. So I hope this is another great suggestion for Christmas cards for you. And thank you for joining me. And I will see you again on Friday. I do have a special treat on Friday. It's a 3D project. And I would suggest bring a cup of coffee and some tea or your favorite beverage and sit back because it will be a long video. I'm hoping less than 50 minutes, but it could be a little longer. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday and have a good day. Bye-bye.